Israel Adesanya's career path once looked like a steady climb to the upper rank of the MMA fight world. He had it all, an almost strange ability to fight, a charming charisma, and most of all, a priceless record, being an undefeated champion. But it seemed all this lasted for a moment, and in a moment, something changed, or rather happened.
And still, Israel, the last style bender, Adesanya!
Wow, it all comes down to this, the final 5 minutes to determine the UFC's interim middleweight champion. Both guys known for having tremendous cardio, and both ready to go here to try to secure a UFC title.
Instead of landing straight on.
Oh!
The glory days that saw him winning the champagne-soaked hearts of millions quickly diminished when controversies compounded with personal setbacks and shocking defeats emerged on the horizon. His fans raised eyebrows from things they once cherished about the last stylebender. Just how did one of the most beloved personalities in the sport of MMA end up being on the other side of the fence as far as fan sentiment was concerned? Here is an analysis of Israel Adesanya, a fighter who just as quickly became a hated figure as he was a beloved one. Just a few years back, Israel Adesanya became known for his extraordinary talent. In 2018, at his debut in UFC, he quickly saw how powerful he could be. His approach to the fight, mixture of skill and courage, captivated viewers and made them stay fascinated.
That's it!
Wait,
Is that the end of the round?
oh my goodness, I thought the fight was over.
Second round underway now. We'll see the extent to which Robert Whittaker is compromised. Oh! Whittaker nearly out on his feet. Adesanya trying to close it out.
It's over.
Israel Adesanya is the undisputed king of the middleweights.
In 2019, Adesanya became the leader of the middleweight division by securing the interim title after defeating Kelvin Gastelum in a dynamic battle. At the end of the year, he achieved the middleweight belt by knocking out Robert Whittaker, thereby securing his position among UFC's top fighters. With a record of 20 victories in professional battles, he shaped himself into a popular figure among the fans. He was seen by supporters as the premier talent in the world of MMA. His abilities attracted the fans along with his likability. He was bold yet enjoyable and assertive yet not arrogant. Through his love of anime and unbroken Nigerian spirit, Adesanya became a relatable hero for fans to look up to. He thrived and no force stood in his way. The more you climb in success, the greater you fall.
Nah, I feel like I'll be slower. It'll be silly for me. Like, I did all right in this fight. I could do better. I know I can. Yeah, even this guy, I could beat this guy. I know I can. He gave me my respect after the fight.
How'd you look back at it now? A good learn?
Yeah, oh yeah, good learning experience. I'm not attached to these, like, the outcomes. That's why I heard him. And then he takes me down here because he knew I heard him. And he was like, oh shit.
Adesanya showed his human side in March 2021 by aiming for greatness by moving up in weight to battle champion Jan Blachowicz. Should he succeed in his daring move, Adesanya would have become one of the exceptional boxers owning belts in contrastable weight categories. That encounter failed to adhere to the original plan. Although Adesanya possessed his typical quickness and ability to move quickly, Blachowicz's great size and strength prevailed with wrestling skills that neutralized Adesanya's stance. Even though Adesanya reached high standards, his first defeat in professional competition highlighted a setback for the first occasion after many years of dominance. However, many supporters easily overlooked this fight. Adesanya remained a champion at middleweight while taking on a larger opponent. Still, beneath the appearances, issues were starting to develop. Is this setback a signal of what lies ahead? Did Adesanya exceed his boundaries? When Blachowicz over some doubt about his opponent and saw Strickland's lucky loss at UFC 293, that doubt turned into a win. As was the case before the fight, many people's perception pointed towards Adesanya as the most likely to be victorious. While Adesanya has always been portrayed as a bragger, Strickland was relatively lowly regarded by fans in the context of a fighter against the Kiwi's aggressive approaches. But this result translated into one of the most shocking moments in recent MMA history. Adesanya tried all his might to bring his best during the fight, but in the ring, he seemed lazy and very slow. It's important to compare the above-described tactics of the chemical champion to the strategies of the unionized workers. The champion felt that Strickland was intense in his attack against him as he engaged him in war. Finally, as the fight went on, it was apparent that Strickland was in charge and that Adesanya had been giving up his middleweight title in a battle that many had seen as invulnerable. This defeat was different. What was even more revealing than Adesanya's defeat was how he was defeated. He was less swift in movements as he was normally a very agile man. In the first case, spectators identified Jones's opponent as being a man whom Adesanya could beat and at the same time a relatively passive figure. The great, unbeatable warrior looked to be reckless, and the audience responded to this cue. Is this showing an isolated case, or just the norm that tends to portray the real picture? Was this perhaps the sign of far deeper issues within Adesanya's career?
The rise of Israel Adesanya was crazy. He ran the middleweight division for over 3 years, 2019 to 2022. And now it seems like the MMA community has flipped its head. Even Chael Sonnen is uploading videos saying Israel Adesanya sucks.
Our champ went up to 205, vacated the belt, and lost. You're only as good as your last fight.
Kevin Holland says a lot of crazy things.
He's the one that wants to hump me. I got married not too long ago. If I want to do some humping, I stay at home and hump my wife.
But in this instance, he's absolutely right.
Fans started to react negatively to Adesanya's controversial character as he moved away from the cage. From the outset, his self-belief and charisma were admired. His lively remarks received positive attention. Gradually, this confidence transformed into arrogance for several. Initially a source of enjoyment for fans, Adesanya's social media posts started causing problems. He delivered awkward humor that did not resonate like a grim joke referencing 9/11 that incited fury from fans and backers. His apology hit quickly, but it failed to halt the negative impact. People viewed him as lax and straightforward in a way that exceeded the boundary of enchanting into prude. Additionally, his rivalry with Dricius du Plessis involved racial themes and displeased a section of his supporters. In a press conference, Adesanya said something concerning du Plessis that several considered distasteful. While a few fans defended him, others interpreted it as a response to Adesanya's emotional temper. With the rise of his controversial image online, his confidence began to look like arrogance to fans who once celebrated it. Is the same aggressive confidence that brought him fame now set to result in his setback?
Now, but like, put it this way, if you don't look after your physical body, you're going to get physically ill. So why don't you do the same thing with your brain?
100.
And who do you have to live with? I mean, you have to live with yourself, that voice in your head. So you have to look after that. And a lot of people, I think just the stigma around that was always just like, oh, if you go see like a therapist, that's like, oh, you're a crazy person or you're a shrink. But it's like, that's like saying if you go see a doctor, you're a weakling.
His frank discussion of mental health problems has been a key factor in his fall. In his film, Stylebender, Adesanya shared his journey, discussing how fighting served as his way to express his feelings. By being so honest about his struggles, he attracted compassion from a few supporters, yet brought about a disconcerting conversation. Might Adesanya's mental battles disrupt his effectiveness in the cage? While courageous to reveal his emotions, he attracted doubts about his mental strength in a sport known for its viciousness. After Adesanya's defeat by Strickland, Behrman referred to factors influencing his athlete's capabilities. Many believed that his inner conflicts might be making their way to the ring. Is Adesanya's mental health now a significant flaw? Does he have the potential to turn his vulnerabilities into a powerful asset, ready for future engagements? The nickname of Adesanya is the Last Stylebender, which means that he uses an exclusive and unipotent fighting style, or technique. Once a champion, he was noted for switching between flashy disciplines fluidly and finding a rhythm and a feeling to bend the fight into a shape that would expose its opponent. He was unpredictable, most especially in the way that he went about his business. Creativity made him ascend to leadership positions. In recent fights, that creativity seems to be lacking. Some of the critics have noted that Adesanya, whose striking used to be very spectacular, has become rather conservative, or even tentative. Amidst age, tiredness, or simply fear of losing, Adesanya seems to be pulling back from his dangerous combat style that he used to do, and this has been observed by the fans. Take the case of the Strickland fight. Adesanya's previously lethal counters were not nearly as accurate as they used to be. Their aim with regards to throwing and firing back seemed to have been dampened by him. Was it a bad night, or has Adesanya's once unique and unorthodox style become boring? Therefore, what is the future of Israel Adesanya? Even after losses and scandals, Adesanya is still considered one of the most technics fighters in the UFC. But the question now being asked is whether he can come from the turbulence that's characterized his career for the past few years. MMA is a sport that enters what is fastest into the game, with two opponents, both with the ability to knock out the opponent at the final moments of the match. High-ranked athletes such as St. Pierre and McGregor have been able to come back from such injuries. Could Adesanya do the same and rise back to the top of the pile?
There is a lot that Adesanya needs to fix before jumping back into title contention, because the competition will get tougher from here on. You have young and hungry contenders like Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev who are very close to the title. You also have rising stars like Ikram Aliskerov, Sharapudin Magomedov, and Bo Nickel, all of whom will definitely enter the top 5 if all goes well.
Some of Adesanya's fans thought that he would still come back to the top of the sport once more. Some, on the contrary, wonder whether this man did not retire. Now his time is up. From his recent defeats to a fight with himself and controversies, Adesanya is at a juncture. Can he step up to the challenge and come up with another sensational performance he delivered as a world champion? One thing is for certain, MMA fans will be paying special attention. He'll get his story right eventually, or he'll continue the downward spiral he's currently on, and the narrative of Adesanya, whichever it is, will be one of the most fascinating of the sport. For Adesanya, there have been victories and losses, flashes of genius interrupted by equally baffling defeats. But what's in store for him in the future? For some, it was merely a hiccup. Others, however, wonder if the last stylebender has lost his shine for good. But what do you think? Can Adesanya capture his championship and public approval again? Or is this the start of the downward spiral of one of MMA's most entertaining villains?